It was 11:30 p.m. I was home alone and ordered some food for delivery. The map showed the delivery person was 0 meters away when he called me, but when I answered, there was no sound on the other end, just an eerie silence. Losing patience, I hung up. Just then, the delivery person messaged me. "I apologize, I'm deaf and mute. I called to let you know your food was here as soon as possible. I can't explain on the phone. I'm truly sorry. Have you been waiting long? I've left the food at your door. Please come get it soon." Just as I was about to open the door, several comments suddenly floated before my eyes. "Don't open the door. The person out there isn't the delivery guy at all, he's a killer. He called you to use the sound of your voice to confirm if you're a woman living alone." Ah, the protagonists in horror stories are always so clueless. This delivery guy is clearly suspicious, yet she's still going to open the door. What the hell is this? A killer? Is the protagonist of a horror story talking about me? Although I didn't believe in strange, supernatural things, these words were truly floating right before my eyes. My heart pounded. I couldn't think of anything else, only grasping the crucial information from the comments. Right now, there was a murderer outside my door who could kill me at any moment. I cautiously pressed against the door, holding my breath as I peered through the peephole, but the hallway outside was empty, not a soul in sight. My eyes were fixed on the hallway through the peephole, and soon I noticed something unusual. Our apartment building has automatic sensor lights. They only turn on when someone is in the hallway. From my door, I could see the entire hallway. Right now, there was clearly no one there, yet the lights remained on. This meant someone was hiding in the hallway, in a blind spot from my view. Suddenly realizing something, I immediately turned off all the lights in my room and bent down to look through the gap under the door. When the lights in my room were off, the light from the hallway outside should have streamed through the door gap into the house. But now, the central part of the door gap was completely covered by a patch of blackness, with only faint rays of light entering from both sides. Someone was really hiding outside. He was crouched right in front of my door, a position that was out of sight from the peephole. Just then, my phone lit up. The delivery person messaged again. "Why haven't you taken your food yet? Is there a problem? Can I help you?" Looking through the door gap, at that wriggling black mass, I seemed to hear the man's breathing from outside. At this moment, I believed even more in the authenticity of those comments. I was certain that there was indeed a scoundrel lurking outside my door. I immediately backed away from the door, quickly retreated into my room, locked all the windows, then took out my phone, intending to call the police. At the same time, a new series of comments appeared before my eyes. "Oh, so the female lead is finally using her brain? She's not opening the door, and she even turned off the lights to check for the killer's shadow outside. Quite smart, isn't she? But the female lead is the first victim. If she doesn't open the door now, how will the plot continue?" Exactly, only after the female lead is harmed, and the male lead is heartbroken and desperate, can the plot of him investigating the horrific case later unfold. Looking at these floating words, my heart ached, and a sense of unease washed over me. Sure enough, before I could dial the police, a cold laugh echoed from the main door. It was a stranger's voice. Next, there were some soft rustling sounds as if someone was moving. I clenched my fists. Before I could react, a huge chainsaw blade immediately pierced through the door. The electric saw easily tore through the wooden door, spinning and emitting a terrifying sound. The man's shadow gradually became clear. He wore a black mask and a tightly pulled-down hat. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I felt his eyes fixed on me. I backed away in panic, realizing there was nowhere left to retreat. He said nothing, just stared, then suddenly applied force, and the door was completely sawed through. In despair, I raised my hands, trying to resist one last time. "What grudge do you have against me? At least let me die knowing why." But the man remained silent, slowly raising the saw blade, which glinted under the light. He swung it down with all his might. I only felt a tearing pain, and my vision instantly turned red. Terrible pain engulfed me like a tide. Before I completely lost consciousness, I saw the comments appear again. "I told you the female lead has to die even if she doesn't open the door. The plot is set. She's the first victim, there's no escaping it. Oh, how pitiful. She was so smart, yet she still couldn't escape death. All right, you guys up there, stop crying and blocking the screen. The frustrating part is over next. We get to see the male lead investigate and get his revenge." Opening my eyes again, the strong smell of blood and the intense pain in my body had vanished without a trace. I was bewildered to find myself standing perfectly intact in front of my door, my hand reaching out to grasp the doorknob. The colored comments reappeared, piling up before my eyes. Don't open the door, the person out there isn't the delivery guy, it's the killer. He only called you to confirm, through your voice, if you're a single woman living alone. So annoying, horror protagonists are always so dim-witted. This delivery guy is full of suspicions, yet she's still going to open the door. I recoiled my hand as if shocked by electricity, clutching my chest with my left hand, breathing rapidly. Could I have been reborn? The one who brutally killed me in my previous life was now crouching outside my door, his eyes as sharp as knives. There was no more time. He was holding a chainsaw. Once he broke through the door, I would have nowhere to run. I rushed inside, my eyes quickly scanning the room doors, then decided to head straight for the bathroom. It was the closest room to the hallway window. Only by climbing through the bathroom window did I have a hope of survival. As I ran in, I locked the bathroom door tightly and tried to focus my thoughts. From the strange comments that had just appeared, I quickly realized that the world I was living in was merely the setting of a horror novel. And this story revolved around the killer outside and a teenager with superhuman intelligence. The comments said the plot began with my death because I was important to the male lead. After my death, the male lead, heartbroken and desperate, would then be drawn into this chaotic spiral, battling wits and courage against the culprit. But I don't even have a boyfriend, so who exactly is the male lead? Opening the bathroom window, I looked down at the 10-story height and felt dizzy. My phone buzzed with a message from the delivery person. Why haven't you taken your food yet? Is there a problem? Can I help you? Exactly like the previous life, I knew the killer was about to break in. Without hesitation, I placed my foot on the windowsill, intending to climb out. The comments scrolled rapidly before me again. Oh wow, this female lead is something else. Even though she appears briefly, she's incredibly bold climbing out the window. Too bad it's useless. The female lead in episode 1 definitely has to die, or else how can the script unfold? But this female lead is good, reborn and still brave and resourceful. She really is the type the male lead would like. Too bad for her unlucky fate. Yeah, it's useless even if she escapes the room. The first floor entrance is already locked by the killer. What? Definitely has to die in episode 1? What does that mean? Does it mean no matter what I do today, I can't escape? And who exactly is the male lead? Why do the comments keep mentioning him without anyone saying his name? I clung with all my might to the fire escape pipe, climbing along the wall. As soon as I reached the hallway window, a loud noise erupted. The sound of the chainsaw tearing through my front door echoed from inside the room. The killer was in the house. I dared not hesitate, immediately flipped myself over the hallway window, glanced quickly between the elevator and the stairs, then dashed into the elevator, pressed the first floor, then ran out and headed down the stairs. The elevator was fast, but the first floor door was locked, so speed was useless. The dark and messy hallway was an ideal hiding place. And pressing all the elevator floor buttons would make the killer think I was still inside as the elevator moved down. As I ran, I thought of a way to deal with this. If this world revolved around a battle of wits between a killer and a male lead with superhuman intelligence, and the male lead was the ultimate winner, then it proved his abilities and intellect surpassed the killer's. Therefore, he would naturally defeat the killer. But as the main antagonist of this world, the killer's abilities were established to be second only to the male leads. And I, a fake female lead created to set the stage for the plot, no matter how hard I tried, it would be difficult to resist the power of the script and characters to escape his grasp. In my previous life, even though I didn't open the door again, the outcome was still the same. This life was no different. No matter where I hid, that killer would surely find me again. The only thing I could do was buy time to find the male lead, to get him involved earlier. Only by using his protagonist's power to confront the killer did I have a glimmer of hope for survival. But who exactly was the male lead? I ran down to the next floor, about to continue descending, when I heard the elevator door ding shut from the floor above. The killer had fallen for the trap. He thought I had taken the elevator down to the first floor, so he took another elevator to chase after me. But I knew this trick wouldn't last long. He would soon realize he'd been fooled. As I ran down the stairs, I searched for a hiding spot, finally concealing myself among a pile of clutter in a corner of the 7th floor staircase. This pile was full of garbage left by the cleaning ladies, covered in slimy, foul-smelling liquid. Ironically, This made it the most perfect hiding place right now. Not long after, heavy, hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. He was coming after me. The footsteps grew closer and closer. I held my breath, not daring to breathe heavily. Oh my God, watching this makes my heart pound and my legs tremble. The female lead is about to be discovered. How pathetic. If only the male lead were here, he would definitely protect her. Oh, I can't watch anymore. It's too cruel. I'll come back later when the male lead appears. The male lead is still sound asleep at home, apparently. Even though they live in the same building, the female lead and he are complete strangers right now. How can she ask him for help? If only the female lead could message the male lead via WeChat, that would be great. This infatuated male lead even set a special notification sound for her. He'll definitely be able to save her. I grasped crucial information from these comments. The male lead lived in the same building as me and was even on my WeChat friends list. At that moment, the footsteps stopped right in front of me. Hiding in the pile, I peered through a gap and saw the silhouette of someone standing outside. My heart pounded. Luckily, he only paused for a moment then continued running downwards. Oh my goodness, this female lead is quite smart, hiding in that stinky, disgusting pile of trash. The killer would never expect a clean, fragrant girl to dare hide there. Sob, I increasingly can't bear to see the female lead die. I didn't have time to pay attention to the comments anymore. I immediately opened my phone, checked my WeChat list, looking for someone matching the male lead's description. My WeChat contact list was very small. After a quick scroll, I found 2 people who fit the description of the male lead. One was Zhang Xian, a classmate. The other was Wang Zhanghe, the grandson of janitor Wang, the building's janitor. I was stunned. I wasn't close to either of them. I quickly drafted a plea for help and sent it simultaneously to both of them. According to the previous comments, the male lead had set a special notification sound for me, so the quickest responder would be him. Soon, my phone vibrated once. It was a message from Zhang Xian. Stay right where you are, absolutely don't move. I'll be there right away. But the very next second, Wang Zhanghe also messaged. Quickly leave your current location. That guy is a high-level expert. Your spot isn't safe anymore. Run now. Both responded almost simultaneously, but their messages gave completely opposite directions. Who exactly was the male lead? I looked up, wanting to see hints from the comments, but at this moment, all I saw was a blank white space, nothing at all. Just as I was hesitating, hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway again. Was it Zhang Xian coming for me? No, that's not right. Zhang Xian lives on the top floor of this building, but these footsteps were clearly coming from downstairs. It's the killer, he's back. The footsteps grew closer and closer. My heart pounded wildly in my chest. I wasn't close to either Zhang Xian or Wang Zhanghe. There was no way to tell who the exceptionally intelligent male lead was. At this moment, the comments scrolled rapidly again. Wow, the female lead called for the male lead's help. Why did she call 2 people at once? Who's the other guy? The female lead is saved. Our handsome guy is about to appear. Are we finally going to see the male lead's handsome face? What a good-looking pair, this drama is so sweet. I grasped another key piece of information. Handsome. I tried to recall Zhang Xian's face. He was indeed very good-looking. I remembered that when we started freshman year, he was even voted the campus heartthrob. As for Wang Zhanghe, I hadn't seen him since we were kids, but his grandfather, janitor Wang, his appearance, Wang Zhanghe probably wasn't much better. So Zhang Xian must be the male lead. I decided to trust Zhang Xian and remained firmly hidden. When the footsteps in the hallway quickly stopped in front of me, my heart clenched. Shen Chaio, are you in there? It was Zhang Xian. I pushed aside the layer of foul-smelling clutter that was shielding my body, directly facing the handsome face before me. Zhang Xian was panting, carrying a large bag in his hand. It seemed he had just come back from outside. No wonder Zhang Xian lived on the top floor, yet the footsteps earlier had come from downstairs. Sorry, Shen Chaio, I just finished eating late outside. I'm not too late, am I? Before Zhang Xian could finish his sentence, I suddenly felt something was wrong. Very quickly, I realized where the abnormality lay. The previous comments had said, even though the male lead lives in the same building as me, when the incident happens, he's asleep at home. But Zhang Xian had just returned from outside. A wave of sudden coldness shot straight from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. Suddenly, a series of steady but slow footsteps echoed behind Zhang Xian. I trembled as I looked up. The man was standing tall behind him. He still wore a black mask and a black hat. the chainsaw blade in his hand glinting with a cold light under the dim illumination. Without hesitation, he raised the weapon high and swung it directly at Zhang Xian. Zhang Xian didn't even have time to react before he fell in a pool of blood. The killer then turned to look at me. The next second, a piercing pain tore through my consciousness. The world before my eyes gradually blurred. The live comments reappeared. Isn't the female lead supposed to be the first victim? Who is this guy? So handsome, but he just appeared and already got killed. What a waste. The guy upstairs is talking nonsense. The male lead just hasn't appeared yet. The male lead is the most handsome one in this story. But the female lead already called for the male lead's help, so why did she still die? Waking up, I was back in front of my door again, my hand still reaching out to open it. Don't open the door. The person out there isn't the delivery guy, it's the killer. He called you to confirm through your voice if you're a single woman. Horror protagonists are always so dim-witted. This delivery guy is clearly suspicious, yet she's still going to open the door. This time, I calmly ignored the live comments, identical to the previous life, and while taking the old route to climb out the bathroom window to the hallway, I messaged Wang Zhanghe for help. Just like in the previous life, he quickly replied, "Shen Chayo, listen to me. Before he notices you, immediately run into the elevator, press all buttons from the 10th floor down, then go to the 5th floor. Apartment 502 on the 5th floor is where a retired armed police officer lives. Knock on his door, explain the situation, and he will help." Reading his message, I was slightly startled. Finally, I understood why he was the male lead of this world. At this moment, the comments were suddenly filled with pink bubbles. Oh my god, did I see that wrong? The female lead directly called for the male lead's help. This male lead must be thrilled to death. This is the first time the goddess has actively spoken to him. Is this horror story turning into a romance? So boring. Skip. I timed it perfectly. As I crawled out into the hallway on the other side, the killer had just finished breaking through my front door with his chainsaw. I rushed into the elevator at top speed, following the male lead's instructions, pressing all buttons from the 10th floor down. I had to admit, this male lead was truly intelligent. A building has 2 elevators. After I entered one, the killer would find no one in my apartment, would surely give chase, and rely on the external display to determine my location. I was on the 10th floor. After entering the elevator and pressing all buttons from the 10th floor down, I would ultimately go to the 5th floor. Even if the killer observed from above, he would only see the elevator stopping at floors 1 to 9, unable to know which floor I actually got off at. The 5th floor was equidistant from the 10th and 1st floors. Whether he started checking from the 9th floor or the 1st, it would take him time to reach the 5th floor. Even more astonishing, the male lead came up with this plan in just 2 seconds when replying to my message. I tried to recall the male lead's appearance, but the first impression that came to mind was still his childhood image in the neighborhood, pulling my hair. His face was dirty, snot running down. How could that be reconciled with the image of the handsome, intelligent young man in the comments? Perhaps due to extreme tension, when I knocked on the door, I cautiously observed my surroundings while trying not to knock too loudly. Nevertheless, the door quickly opened, and a retired armed police officer with a resolute face appeared before me. Admiring the retired officer's quick reflexes, I quickly explained the situation to him. The officer immediately invited me in, then cautiously slammed the door shut. Wang Zhanghe had informed me he called the police and was on his way to apartment 502. Actually, twice before, I had thought about calling the police, but time was too short to give me the opportunity. Furthermore, I had realized this world was a novel, a place where everything revolved around the male lead. Calling the police wasn't even as good as relying on the male lead's aura, but if the male lead himself called the police, that was different. Just as I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, I suddenly heard a soft knock at the door. "Hello, sir, food delivery." My heart pounded wildly. I looked up to stop him, only to find the officer already standing at the door, his hand on the doorknob. He mumbled as he opened the door, "How come I don't remember ordering anything?" I screamed, "Don't open the door." But it was too late. The moment the door slightly opened, the killer raised his chainsaw and burst straight in. The old officer quickly reacted, grappling with the assailant, but due to his age and weakness, he gradually lost ground. I frantically searched for something to defend myself with, but it was useless. Before long, he lay motionless in a pool of blood. The killer turned to look at me. I closed my eyes in despair. The next second, a flesh-tearing pain struck and my consciousness began to fade. The comments flooded in again like falling snow. Sob, sob, the female lead died. The male lead arrived just in time to see her body. So heartbroken. The beginning was too intense. Finally, it's time for the male lead to counterattack. Poor female lead, she tried so hard to survive, yet she still died in the end. Reborn once more, just like before, I immediately contacted Wang Zhanghe. But this time, I frankly asked him if I could hide in his house immediately, then call the police and wait for rescue. From previous failures, I had deduced a pattern. In this world, except for the male lead, anyone involved in this story must die. Moreover, everyone was forced to lower their intelligence for the plot to unfold smoothly, like the retired old police officer in the previous life. Clearly, when he let me into his house, he had been extremely cautious, both in expression and action. So why, when he knew perfectly well he hadn't ordered food, did he so easily open the door to a stranger? It was illogical. So this time, I chose to stick close to the male lead. If I was relying on the male lead's aura, I had to rely on it completely. Initially, Wang Zhanghe still suggested I go down to the 5th floor by elevator and hide in the fake police officer's apartment 502. He promised to come down to the 5th floor to find me soon. Since he lived on the 11th floor, too close to the dangerous 10th floor, going down to the 5th floor would be safer. I resolutely said, "Whether I end up on the 5th floor or the 1st, I must go with you. Wherever you go, I'll follow." Perhaps because I had gone through several life and death cycles, my voice sounded more urgent than usual. Hearing that, the other end of the line was silent for a long time before he replied, "Okay." But right at that moment, the comment screen suddenly exploded. "Oh my God, the female lead isn't close to the male lead like that right now. Why is she talking so straightforwardly? Haha, the male lead behind the screen must be blushing like crazy. This couple is amazing." I feel like the female lead has a god's eye view. It seems she knew beforehand that the male lead would save her, which is why she suddenly. The male lead was forced into action early. Ha ha ha, I wonder if the female lead will die this time. Don't know yet, let's wait and see. Perhaps because everyone was shipping them so enthusiastically. Standing before the male lead's door, a faint glimmer of hope still flickered in my heart. I also wanted to see what the man chosen as the male lead in the story looked like. But when the door opened, I stood rooted to the spot. I even carefully confirmed again, "Are you Wang Zhanghe?" The man cautiously glanced around, then quickly pulled me inside. "Come inside," he said. The door slammed shut behind me, but I still stared blankly at the man in front of me. Not to mention handsome, he wasn't even average-looking. Dark-skinned, obese, with an oily face and tiny, bean-like eyes. Every time he opened his mouth, a strong, foul odor emanated, and I was utterly stunned. At this moment, the comments that appeared made me doubt the authenticity of this world again. The male lead has appeared, so handsome. Too handsome, I'm already in love. No wonder he's the handsome and intelligent male lead of the story. Girls, wouldn't it be an understatement to say he's a face born for the screen? Who would have thought someone this handsome is also a genius detective? This couple is too perfect. Young, beautiful pair, steaming hot. Handsome male lead, beautiful female lead. Though from childhood, every year I was on the list for school beauty queen, now I began to doubt my own appearance. Had this world inverted beauty standards to consider the obese, ugly man in front of me handsome? In that case, was I myself merely an ugly, ordinary woman? However, when Wang Zhanghe pulled me past the full-length mirror in his living room, I clearly saw my reflection. I was still the me of old, still the familiar image I saw every morning in the mirror. Slender, with fair skin. And Wang Zhanghe was no different from the image I'd seen in real life. Obese, dark-skinned, ugly. Watching the ceaseless pink bubbles of infatuation rising from the live comments, my worldview almost completely collapsed. The foul odor from the man beside me was so strong that I had to exert all my effort to control my expression just to stand still. But thinking that he was the male lead of this world, that only he could save me, I swallowed my indignation and made peace with it. Perhaps after so many cycles of life and death, my eyes and nose were malfunctioning. Was the man in front of me really handsome? The man sat before me, his earlobes flushed red, yet his face remained calm. He looked at me and said curtly, "I've already called the police. They're about 20 minutes away. During this time, I will ensure your safety. You spent time getting up here just now, so trying to run and find a safer place is no longer feasible. The only thing we can do is hide here thoroughly. In a moment, I'll cut all the power in the house to make it look empty. There's a small space under my floor used for experiments. Hide in there and don't come out no matter what you hear. I nodded, feeling somewhat more at ease. Although the male lead's appearance didn't match the handsome image I had, ultimately, he was still the male lead of this world. I believed in his ability, or rather, I believed in the plot-driving power of the protagonist. I quickly hid in the small cellar under the male lead's floor. The space inside was cramped, filled with mechanical parts and unfinished products. I suddenly remembered hearing once that janitor Wang's only grandson was studying at a technology university. But that was all I knew. I waited for a very long time. Outside, there was almost no sound, but my heart remained clenched, not daring to let down my guard. In my tension, I paced around this small, confined space. As I walked, I suddenly discovered a corner hidden in the shadows, a corner covered in photos. These photos were all of me at different times, some I had never even seen myself. A paper next to them meticulously recorded my personal information and hobbies. Shen Chayo, born June 18, 2000, likes dancing and following idols. A feeling of unease rose within me, but the live comments suddenly erupted like crazy. Oh my god, the male lead's unrequited love is so crazy and dark, I like it. Holy moly, he collects so many photos of the female lead, secretly noting down her hobbies. Who dares say this isn't true love? So touching, I think the female lead is about to fall for the male lead too. Look at her expression, she's clearly moved. My face was filled with countless question marks. Where do you people see me being moved? I immediately turned my back and walked away from the corner, rubbing my chest, trying to suppress the discomfort in my heart. Time passed minute by minute. Outside, there was still no movement. Just as I was worried about what might be happening with the male lead outside, the floorboard was opened from above. The male lead's fat face broke into a relaxed smile. It's all right now, that person has been arrested by the police. I jumped. Is it over? Is the male lead's aura this powerful? Or did the male lead outsmart the killer and win while I was hiding in the cellar? I quickly crawled out of the cellar and ran to the balcony, just in time to see the killer being escorted into a police car. Black mask, black hat, it was him all right, but was this development too simple? The male lead stood beside me, smiling foolishly, his ears completely flushed. I still sincerely thanked him. By the time everything was handled, it was already bright morning. I rubbed my empty stomach, intending to go out for breakfast first. 6 a.m. Sunlight streamed down on the first tree on the eastern side of the tree-lined street. A few scattered people walked along the street. As I was walking, I suddenly felt goosebumps on my back. The very next second, footsteps sounded behind me. I turned my head. When I clearly saw who it was, my heart pounded. Black mask, black hat. Wasn't he already arrested by the police? Why was he still? But the other person gave me no time to doubt. A sharp, cold, gleaming object swung powerfully towards me. Comments: I told you if the female lead doesn't die, how can the plot continue? Comments: sob, the female lead still died in the end, even asking the male lead for help that night was useless. The light before my eyes gradually faded, but this time, the dissatisfaction in my heart had reached its peak. I didn't understand why. Was it just because my death was the beginning of the story that I had to die no matter what? To glorify the male lead's intelligence and courage, must someone always sacrifice themselves as a cannon fodder? If that's the case, what's the point of showing me these comments? You let me know about my death in advance, yet I'm still destined to die no matter what I do. Die again and again endlessly. The comments before my eyes shattered into individual words and vanished. I wanted to reach out and grasp them, but found I didn't even have the strength to move. It was in that very last moment that a flash of insight sparked in my mind. I think I finally knew what crucial point I had always missed. Opening my eyes again, I no longer contacted Wang Zhanghe, the one with the male lead's aura. Looking back at the memories of my previous lives, there was nothing wrong with finding Wang Zhanghe. At least his male lead's aura helped me live for one more night, but I knew that to survive, I had to be with him 24/7. Just one step away, and the killer would immediately come back to kill me. I didn't want that. Standing before my door, I looked at the faint black shadow visible through the door gap. The person who had killed me 4 times was standing right outside. I frowned, thinking for a few seconds. An idea suddenly sparked in my mind, and I quickly called my mother, not for help. I asked only one question: "Mom, what date was I born?" Receiving the answer, I hung up. Looking back at the black shadow outside the door, I finally decided to take a desperate risk. This time, I wouldn't run anymore. I would face him alone and counterattack. I immediately rushed into my room, opened the closet, and rummaged through it. Fortunately, as a medical student, I always had all sorts of miscellaneous medications in my closet. Although there was no sulfuric acid or other dangerous chemicals, I still, as I wished, found a bottle of potassium permanganate and a dozen suppositories. I opened the caps of the 2 bottles, hid them behind my back, tucked a pair of scissors into my pocket, then resolutely walked to the door. Just then, the comments went wild. "What is the female lead planning to do? I have a feeling she knows the killer is outside, with that fierce and determined look in her eyes. No mistake, she's holding a bottle of potassium permanganate and suppositories. I've guessed her intention. Oh my God, this is too intense." I stood before the door. This time, I didn't wait for the person outside to break through with a chainsaw. I opened the door myself. As the comments collectively screamed, "Don't open it," the door creaked open. I lunged forward, forcefully splashing the mixture of potassium permanganate and suppositories onto the person standing outside. Immediately, a pungent smell rose. The liquid splashed onto the man, sparks flew, and flames erupted fiercely, engulfing his entire body. "Ugh!" He screamed desperately. Taking advantage of his distraction, I pulled out the scissors and aimed straight for a weak point on his face, attacking. Fresh blood splattered onto my face. The man was completely enraged, raising the chainsaw and swinging it wildly. Unfortunately, his eyes could no longer see anything. I just stepped back, then gave him no chance, continuing to use the scissors to attack vulnerable spots on his body. Every stab carried the hatred from my previous deaths. At this moment, all the knowledge from my medical textbooks vividly appeared before my eyes, but I was doing something completely contrary to my profession. I coldly watched the man fall into a pool of blood. At this moment, the comments suddenly surged wildly. "Wait, what am I seeing? The female lead who was supposed to die in episode 1 counterattacked. Are you kidding? She just countered and killed him in a flash. Oh my God, the original female lead character was supposed to be an intelligent, excellent student. When I saw her being killed, I kept thinking there was nothing smart about her. Who knew she'd counterkill? Oh my, this story has become a grand female lead story, so cool. But the female lead killed someone. Won't she go to jail for this?" I smiled faintly. "Jail? Of course not." I bent down and peeled off the man's hat and mask. His face was fully revealed, obese, dark-skinned, oily, whether he was the vicious killer or the intelligent, righteous male lead. Wang Zhanghe. In my eyes, his face would forever be this ugly, obese thing, but the audience's attitude towards him was completely different from when he was the male lead in the previous life. "Save us, this killer is too ugly, I'm going to throw up, everyone. Whose wild boar got loose here?" From the moment I called my mother and heard her tell me my birth date, I had determined that this world was not real at all. On the phone, my mother told me I was born on June 18, 2000. That was indeed the birth date on my ID card. But when I was young, due to a mistake by the household registration office, my birth date was declared 1 day earlier. My actual birth date was June 19th. For many years, even I sometimes got it wrong. But my mother was the only one who could never forget my true birth date. In this simulated world centered around Wang Zhanghe, everything was created from his memories. My mother, of course, wasn't my real mother. Both the killer and the male lead were merely characters he had imagined, and their prototypes were all himself. In previous lives, I only knew to run and call for help, thinking this was truly a novel's world, wanting to rely on the male lead's aura to escape the fate of death. As the man on the floor drew his last breath, the entire world began to crumble. A flash of white light appeared, and I lost consciousness. Opening my eyes again, it was finally no longer the familiar door in the dark night. I lay in a hospital bed. My mother held me tightly, sobbing with emotion. "The doctor even said you were getting weaker and weaker, with a high chance of not waking up again. I knew it, my daughter could never leave me. My daughter is the smartest, bravest person, you know." I weakly opened my mouth and asked, "Mom, what happened to me? Why am I in the hospital?" Upon hearing this question, my mother immediately gritted her teeth. "It's all because of that grandson of old janitor Wang in our building, some Wang Zhanghe something. If he wanted to commit suicide, fine, but he also made you drink the same medicine, wanting you to die with him. The police even discovered a small room under his floor, filled with your photos and several novels inspired by you and him. Looking at it just made me furious. If that bastard had died in the hospital last night, I would have beaten him half to death to feel better. I was stunned. It took a while for me to fully recover, so that was the truth of the matter. Thinking of Wang Zhanghe's face, a wave of nausea rose within me. I hugged my mother tightly. Mom, thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have woken up. After a period of recovery in the hospital, my body gradually recuperated. During this time, Wang Zhanghe's actions became widely publicized online. Even though he himself was dead, he couldn't escape the wave of online violence. Janitor Wang from our building, Wang Zhanghe's grandfather, came to visit me. He wanted me to forgive Wang Zhanghe, wanted me to clear his name online. Little Chayo, Zhang only did such things because he liked you too much. Now that he's gone, he doesn't deserve to suffer this online abuse. I rolled my eyes. Is your family inherently selfish and shameless, passed down from your ancestors? Janitor Wang was chased out of the hospital. My mother told me that after losing his only grandson, Janitor Wang fell gravely ill and was frequently hospitalized afterward. Oh, what does that have to do with me? After being discharged from the hospital, I continued to complete my studies. From then on, I became stronger, braver, and capable of facing difficulties independently. My life was smooth and happy.